All right, Notion just released the new data sources feature, meaning you can have multiple data sources in one database. I wanted to give my take on what that means, how that compares to Fibery, and my personal speculation as to kind of why they did this. Understanding databases is essential to building a scalable and efficient workspace for your team, both in Fibery and in Notion. So let's see how they compare. Okay, let's start in Notion. The way things were usually recommended to do is to have a databases page with all databases like so. So like one database for people, one database for companies, and then have in a different place, like in a view, in a different page, you can have like a table view of an existing thing and just link to them, right? Which is nice. And this is kind of the way things are already set up properly inside of Fibery, where you have your data in one place and then your views in another. The big difference between, like, the big thing I think, my speculation is, that Notion's pushing for is to put those together. They're trying to push to have your data and your views in one place, rather than what I think is better of having it like this, where you have your databases in one place and then the views of that data in another. Why do I think this? Because of the way things work with the new data sources. Now, when you go over here, you can do manage data sources, add a new data source, and you're kind of creating a new type of data inside of here. So a new empty data source. So now you have two different sources of data inside of one view, so to speak. Yeah, I would call it. Let's just remove that real quick. And in Fibery, it kind of works similarly to the old way of doing things in Notion. Let me just show you guys real quick over here. So for example, here we have a space with two different databases, people and companies, but this is kind of like the back end. So if you hide databases, you only see the views, but your data is over here. And actually, people don't have access to this, only if you're a creator. Editors don't see the databases as databases. They can't even delete them. They can't add fields, or they can't edit, kind of like the content editor thing in Notion, but they can use the data and add new data. The thing is, the big difference, one big difference, there's two. One is around flexibility versus structure, and the second is around access and access control. I'll start with the flexibility and structure. So in Fibery, you can't just create databases anywhere. In Notion, it's pretty cool. You can just go into a page. Let's see. In people, you go /database. You can create a new inline database inside with a new empty database and just do something here. All right. But then it's only going to be in Tim Cook, and it's not going to be in this new thing. So there were some things people did. Anyhow, point being, so this is pretty cool. It's flexible. You can just create database anywhere. The problem is, with flexibility comes also a bit of ambiguity. Like, you're not sure what the right way. You have to duplicate it to the next one. I personally like it more structured, but if you like flexibility, maybe this is a bit more for you. In Fibery, there is also kind of a database inside a database, but that's just because of the relationship. So for example, a company can have many people. So then inside each company, you'll now see a list of people. Let's link, for example, different things, and we can show this as a list in different ways. So now it's kind of like a database of people inside the company, and you can also not show based on the context and show everything instead. But you can't just go in here and go /database and create a new database. All the databases are here, so they're siblings of each other. They're not sub-databases, but they are related. So in that way, it's kind of sub-databases. It's like companies and people inside, but it's not in the sense of like a database, a full database inside a different one. So that's in terms of flexibility versus structure. And the nice thing here as well is that this is going to be in all companies. So it's kind of similar to the new layouts feature in Notion. That's first thing, flexibility and structure. The second one is access. So if you go over here in Fibery, you'll see that there is a space here for everyone is an editor. That means everyone can edit and create content inside of these databases, but they can't configure them. So they can't configure the databases or the views. If you wanted to do this in Notion, you could in just a different way. So for example, over here, you could have them only view this. One thing about this thing about views versus data. Over here, when I delete this, it gives me a thing of like, oh, all the pages will be deleted. Where in Fibery, that is a lot less likely to ever happen, because it's very clear, okay, this is where the database is, this is where the views are. You can delete a view without it deleting any data. Where here, it's like, is this is this, so for example, if I go like this, database full page, and here I link it to, for example, people, you'll see over here, view of people. So I guess it makes it a bit more clear. So when I delete this one, not showing me anything because it didn't delete any data. When I delete this one, when I delete this one, it tells me the page is deleted. If I do it in bulk, it doesn't. Interesting. That's dangerous. Okay. Over here, what we can do to prevent people going in and deleting databases, we can go and set them to can only view this page specifically. And then inside the database itself, we can change the sharing settings to not can view, but can edit content. That means they can create content and edit the content, but they can't change the properties and make relationships and such. So that might be something valuable. If you want to restrict and kind of make sure things are structured, and you don't have, if you have a big team, you don't want everyone having access to the schema and accidentally deleting fields and stuff. Trust me, you don't want that. So you might want to do something like this. Then this way they can't go in and delete it. The thing is, the reason this is relevant to the new data sources is that you can't configure this per data source. So a data source in Notion is now the equivalent of a database in Fibery, where in Fibery, you have access to, you can change the access for all the databases in the space, it's called. So I can change it here to make everyone editor, but I can also change it inside of here. So maybe specifically for the company's one, I want everyone to be a creator, maybe. In Notion, you can do this if you have your database split up, but you can't if you have it as data sources. So I personally don't really see the advantage of having data sources at the moment. What I've heard from people is that this is like a stepping stone into something new. And it feels like as well a way to make it a bit simpler to have multiple things in one place. So for example, if you are indeed creating an ad hoc database over here, and you're like, this ad hoc database needs multiple types of things, instead of needing to create 3 things underneath each other, and then a view, you can do it all in one place. Is it for a scalable system with multiple people and if you want good access control? No. Is it, I think, leaning more towards this thing of flexibility and creating databases and having all the data you need in a single view, which again, a database shouldn't be inside of view. You should have a database and views, like most people use, the way most people build in Notion. Yeah. So I'm not sure about the direction they're going here, but this is just my thoughts and a bit of speculation. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was interesting. And if you think differently or agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment. And if you want a full Fibery versus Notion like comparison, I did one about like wikis, but it's more about the use case rather than actually how to build inside of it. And wiki is kind of wiki works in a different way than most databases do in Notion. If you want a comparison, let me know, and maybe I'll do that at some point. All right, hope you enjoy.